Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear from a local economist on why the state's jobless rate is up while the national numbers remain stable. The dean of ASU's law school talks about plans for the school to offer jobs to new graduates. And we'll hear about a project that aims to renovate an iconic structure at the Grand Canyon's Bright Angel Trailhead. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Arizona's jobless rate increased in most employment sectors last month at a time when the national rate remains stable. ASU economist Lee McFeeters joins us to talk about the numbers. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Good.
Arizona unemployment rate back up to 8%, up a couple of ticks here. Your thoughts?
Well, we saw 4 months under 8%, so that established a baseline. Then it went up this month. I think the more important comparison is with a year ago. A year ago it was well over 8%, about 8.4%, so it is down. It's trending down. The one comparison that I think is important is to look at the size of the labor force a year ago and compare it to the labor force now. And the difference is that the labor force is actually smaller. So what that tells you is that people have gotten discouraged, they're dropping out, and so there's a lot of people out there we're not measuring, I think, with this unemployment rate.
And there are different measurements, are there not, for those who are unemployed and filing, not employed, not filing, and then those who simply are? Aren't there different variations there?
Well, one of the important distinctions is whether, in fact, you are looking for a job. If you're not looking for a job, then you're not counted as unemployed. We do have ways of measuring those folks, and when you add those in, when you add in the people that have taken part-time jobs that really are not on their career path or that really don't lead them into a full-time position, they're counted as employed anyway. But when you add all of those people up, the discouraged workers, the people that are working part-time for economic reasons, it turns out that Arizona's unemployment rate then, it's called the U6 unemployment rate, is closer to 16%, which is one of the highest in the country.
As far as the uptick here from May to June, seasonal factors at play. Government jobs seem like they were hit pretty hard, but that could be teaching?
Well, government jobs, there's really three categories. You have federal government jobs, and those are down month after month after month for the past 3 years. Local jobs, pretty much the same situation. Local employment, local governments have simply been cutting and cutting and cutting. State government is actually back up compared to a year ago, and I think that that is partly due to the fact that with this 1 cent sales tax, for example, we were able to preserve some jobs. But overall, I would not look to government as a source of employment growth at all, and it is still one of the sectors that is losing jobs. That's why it's probably more useful to really look at the private sector, what's happening in the private sector, what parts of the private sector are showing some strength and which parts are still sort of languishing.
Real quickly, sequestration at all a factor in those federal job cuts?
I think it definitely is, and it does extend into the private sector because to the extent the private firms have government contracts, there's effects there.
The private sector did lose jobs. Construction was down. Is that unusual for this time of year?
Well, the numbers as we get them out of the Department of Administration are not seasonally adjusted. So you have to sort of do the mental seasonal adjustment, or you can look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics figures. But I think traditionally in the summer we always see employment dropping off. And that's why our particular approach at ASU is to say, where are we now compared to where were we a year ago? And we're up in the private sector about 50,000 jobs, very similar to what we saw last year. So we have an economy which is very, very slow growing, certainly not on the threshold of recession, but really not the dynamic Arizona economy we'd expect to see in a recovery.
Compare that economy with what you're seeing around the country, because again, the national rate kind of remains stable. We ticked up a couple of notches.
Well, the western states as a whole are actually doing better than the rest of the country. Texas, of course, has had good growth. Utah's had good growth. Idaho has now replaced North Dakota as the #1 job growth state for rate of growth.
Do we know why?
Well, I think what has happened is in North Dakota, the shale oil boom has kind of calmed, and it's certainly not in any way going backwards, but I think it's slowed down a bit. But Arizona is still a top 10 job growth state. We were #9 according to our latest numbers. We're doing better than the nation. The nation is adding jobs at about 1.5%. We're growing about 2%. Phoenix is growing about 2.5%, something in that range. So compared to everywhere else, we're looking pretty good here. The nation as a whole, very slow growth, still positive.
So what are you seeing now for the coming months, especially when it comes to certain sectors? What sectors likely to grow? What sectors do you see? Obviously, government jobs, you're saying that don't look for any bright lights there anytime soon.
Don't look for government to even be a stable source of employment. You know, usually you don't look to government to drive the economy forward, but you expect that the government sector is at least going to be stable. We're still losing government jobs, so that is something that just has to be factored in looking down the road. There are really 3 sectors in the economy that are providing about half the jobs that we're adding right now. One of them is healthcare, one of them is the construction industry, and the other is what you might call food services. Each of those 3 added in the past 12 months 8,000 to 9,000 jobs. There's 27,000, maybe 28,000 jobs of the 55, 56,000 that have been created. So when you look at those sectors, construction jobs, pretty good wages. Food services, not so much. About half the average wage, I think, in Arizona. So, you know, some of our growth drivers are really not high-wage sectors right now.
Well, good information. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to see you, Ted.
We want to hear from you. Submit your questions, comments, and concerns via email at arizonahorizon@asu.edu.
Law schools are graduating an increasing number of students who are finding it increasingly hard to find jobs. ASU Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law is addressing the situation with plans to create an alumni law group, which would give 30 jobs, 30 law school graduates. The program will cost $5 million a year, but could pay for itself within 5 years. ASU Law School Dean Doug Sylvester is here to discuss the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
All right, the Alumni Law Group. What are we talking about?
So it is the world's first nonprofit teaching law firm that's affiliated with a law school. So let me try and break that down. Think about a teaching hospital, right?
Yes.
Everybody who graduates from a medical school goes and spends some time at a teaching hospital under the tutelage of a full-time surgeon, but doing real cases. So we're trying to bring that model to law schools, where you graduate from ASU, and if you'd like to, you can spend up to 3 years working under the tutelage, again, of experienced supervising attorneys representing clients.
Now, this is different than what an internship might be?
Absolutely.
How so?
In a bunch of different ways. You know, one is because you can be fired. And that really changes it.
Does,
you know,
it does.
It's very different than giving somebody a failing grade. So one answer is it's real-life clients, and they're paying. And that's what really changes things. It's like having, again, a patient coming in not as a sort of fake individual that you need to figure out their disease, but they're actually coming in and they have a problem and they need you as a doctor to solve it. Same thing here. Clients walk in the door, they need help. We have experienced attorneys, 10 plus years of experience, supervising young associates and teaching them, here's how you represent that client.
So we're talking 30 jobs here to new graduates, correct?
When it fully builds out, that's the plan.
What kind of jobs are we talking about?
So we're talking about young associates. So at the top, we're going to have full-time attorneys that are experienced, again, so there'll be about 5 to 7 of those. And then young associates, brand new graduates at the law school, 10 a year, doing work as attorneys.
Is this the non-courtroom experience here? Or
some courtrooms, some representing small businesses. The idea is to really try and identify a middle class that at the moment needs legal services but can't afford it. And so to provide a rate that brings in small business, for example, and they want to incorporate. Well, we can do incorporations for you on a nonprofit basis. It turns out when you take the profit out of law, you can actually provide a lot of services at a reduced rate and still give a ton of training exercises to young attorneys. Because part of what's happening in the market, we think, is a breakdown in a very traditional model where you graduate from law school, you get a job at a law firm, and an experienced attorney mentors you over a period of time, brings you along, even beyond what the clients are looking for. We're not seeing that. And so we're trying to replace that model by having them work in this law firm and get that kind of training in a really quick, deep, and broad way.
Why are you not seeing that past model?
So the economy has been tough. Your prior guest was talking about employment, and legal employment was not one of the ones he said that's really driving the market. Legal employment nationwide is a problem, and we're certainly seeing some issues here in town. ASU and U of A and Phoenix have done extremely well compared to the national economy, but we're still seeing a real focus on clients on what exactly is every attorney who's working on this matter doing. And if we have an attorney who's not yet experienced, I won't pay for that person. So it becomes a bottom line problem for firms. So they're not hiring as many. And when they do, they're only giving them sometimes the kinds of work that they can bill out. And they're not growing.
I can hear critics right now saying, well, that just suggests there are too many kids graduating from law school. Valid argument?
I don't think so. I think nationwide, I think it is. You know, responsible law schools like ASU and again, U of A, we've actually reduced the size of our class to respond to the employment market. We don't admit anybody we don't think we can get a job, and we've done a heck of a lot better than the national averages, and so is U of A. So, you know, great law schools are focused on getting jobs, but the answer is even the ones that are getting jobs are not getting the jobs they got 5 years ago. They're not getting the training they got. They're not getting the mentoring.
But Dean of the law school here, how difficult is it to gauge the job market? I mean, you got to look 3, 4, 5 years ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most law schools, that's probably what happened over the last 5 years, is no one saw this downturn coming. So one of the things this law firm will allow us to do, this law group, is we'll have a much better handle on what's happening out in the market because we'll see where clients are, we'll see where business is, we'll see what skills our graduates need to have way before any other law school will.
It can also be argued that this isn't fair to private law firms that might be going after the same business that you guys are now getting into.
So that's an argument. I don't think it's right. I actually think what we're looking for are individuals at the moment don't have any legal representation because they can't afford a lawyer in town. And so they're looking for somebody to come in and handle their legal matters at a very early stage of their business or in a very small personal matter. And the value of that is they then learn that lawyers, let me put it this way, they learn that lawyers can be very helpful, that lawyers are not always, and this is a reputation, I know it's not true, but looking to make the most profit. They learn that lawyers are a value add. They're going to go out and hire other people over years.
So if someone says that by doing this to help people get jobs out of law school, you could be taking jobs from the private market for folks out of law school, how would you respond?
I don't think that's right. I actually think what we're doing is taking our graduates who would have jobs and saying what we're trying to do is give you a better experience for your first 2 years out so that when you are 3 and 4 years out, you are a heck of a lot better attorney than you will be under the current conditions.
The program costs $5 million, but the idea is it would pay for itself within 5 years. How would that work?
Yeah, so within absolute full build-out, and these are just projections, right? So at absolute full build-out with 40 people and space at the top end, if this was run like a traditional law firm, it would cost about $5 million a year. I don't think it's going to actually run at that level. This was our attempt to say, if we run it the way anybody else would, that's what it would cost. We're going to be able to do it quite a bit less expensively, so I don't think we need to be able to make that much each year. To me, this is a successful endeavor when what our lawyers are doing is they're not picking clients because they can afford to pay. They're picking clients who do pay because that's what makes it real, but because our associates haven't had that experience yet. An associate has not yet been in court, and we need a client who's going to get them in court in the next 3 months. I don't care if they can pay. Let's take that case.
And so when does this program start?
It should be up and running by January of 2013 or 2014.
2014. And full fully implemented when?
Within 3 years. So we're looking to build 10, 10, and 10.
All right. By then, will you have your law college built here downtown?
Yes, we will. We'll be here in 2016.
Holy
so the two will
smokes.
sort of match each other.
All right. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
They came from Pittsburgh in 1903 and set up a photo studio on the edge of the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Over the next 75 years, Emery and Ellsworth Kolb used the studio to photograph the canyon and visiting tourists. But the Kolb studio is in need of renovation. Joining me now is Helen Ranney, Assistant Director of Philanthropy for the Grand Canyon Association, which is leading a fundraising drive to renovate the 109-year-old structure. Welcome to Arizona Horizon.
Thank you, Ted. We're happy to be here.
All right, the Kolb Studio, where exactly is this and what exactly was it used for?
Well, it sits at the head of the Bright Angel Trail on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. It's perched just below the rim. It was used, like you said, for their photo studio and also a home. A family actually grew up there.
Really? So this was a family residence?
A family residence. What is open to the public currently is the park store and also a gallery where they used to show their movie, and then the residence is down below.
And then we're looking at it right here, back in the. Does it look like this now, similar, or has it been expanded?
It's been expanded. That was the first renovation of the house, and then it's gone on and had 3 or 4 since. It's actually a 5-story house,
wow.
22 rooms.
And built right there into the side of the canyon, isn't it?
They blasted the heck out of it.
I'll bet they did. All right, who were Emery and Ellsworth Kolb?
Well, they came from Pittsburgh, and they were adventurers and tried to figure out a way to make some money, and figured out that people were starting to visit the Grand Canyon. With the train coming in 1901, visitation increased there, and before it was a national park, they started taking photos of you riding a mule down to the bottom of the canyon. One thing that they did back in those days, photography required water, and you had glass plates. There was no water at the south rim, so they would run past you down to Indian Garden, about 4.5 miles down the trail, develop the film, run back with those developed plates, and you had to buy the photo when you came out.
Yeah, you can't look at it and say, no, I don't think so,
No.
after all that effort.
No.
And did they see this as a business at first, or were they just hikers and adventurers and photographers and thought, hey, wait a second, a lot of folks are stopping by up here?
They saw it as a business at first. One of the things that they did, and I think that photo showed, there was a sign that said $1 trail, $1 toll for the Bright Angel Trail. So Ralph Cameron actually owned the Bright Angel Trail at that time, and they were the gatekeepers of that toll road. It wasn't even called the trail.
And when we say that they took photographs of the canyon, and you mentioned how difficult it was to get the photographs developed, just getting the photographs themselves looks like an absolute adventure.
Well, ask any photographer that you see with Arizona highways. It's not easy to shoot the Grand Canyon, but they had access living right there at the head of the Bright Angel Trail.
And we're looking at folks, I mean, goodness gracious, step back, please, with the kid. That's the family, obviously, but the photographers themselves, they would have to look at these people.
We call that one Kolb on a rope.
Indeed, it is. I mean, that's just amazing.
It is absolutely amazing, and they were pure adventurers at heart, and because of them, there's a lot of early photographs of Grand Canyon and helped encourage visitors to come.
And there are photographs that even now would be difficult to get, I would imagine.
Can you see anybody taking a big
Nope.
camera like that?
Nope, nope.
They'll
can't
have their
see it.
iPhone, even though with their iPhone they
Yeah.
won't do it.
And we have a photo as well. I believe Barry Goldwater. Now, did he know the family, and was he a visitor up there? There he is, right there in the boat. That's a young Barry Goldwater. Talk to us about that relationship.
Well, Barry Goldwater, of course, was an advocate for Grand Canyon, his entire career. He was a river runner and a photographer himself. So the Kolbs saw a lot of dignitaries that came to visit him. Theodore Roosevelt was one. There's a photograph of Theodore Roosevelt as well that's real famous.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, so they were in business for how long were they in business?
Well, Emery is the one who lived the longest. He died in 1976, and that's when the business ended. But he showed that film that they created when they went down the river in 1911 for over 60 years.
So, okay, let's talk about that film. I think we have some shots of them actually getting into the river and going down there. What was that all about? Did they just documenting the Colorado River?
You know, in those days, trying to find a way to make a living, and
Yeah.
they saved up enough money to buy a movie camera for $400 and went down the river. There you have a photo. And they didn't know the first thing about rowing any boats. And the Colorado before the Glen Canyon Dam was a wild river.
It sure was. And this is adventurism times 2. I mean, these people are up. There's no cell phone service. There's no way to get it. You're stuck. You're stuck.
You're stuck. You're stuck.
And so they documented that, and that again, as you said, became pretty popular over the years.
Well, actually, they took it to Washington, D.C., and the National Geographic Society saw the film and actually featured the Kolbs in, I think it was August of 1914. Almost the entire issue of the National Geographic magazine featured that expedition.
Okay, let's talk now about the studio. The family leaves mid-70s, somewhere along that line.
He died in 1976.
So what happened then?
So here's the really part where Grand Canyon Association came in. The house sat empty. It was boarded up. The Park Service owned it, but really nobody knew what to do with it. It was just a different time in the National Park Service history. And so in the mid-90s, Grand Canyon Association, and we're the nonprofit partner for the park, came to the Park Service and said, we would like to restore this house with no tax dollars, with private money. So $1 million later, we restored the house in the 1990s and opened it up for the public. Now what we need to do is as you know, with historic homes, and it sits at the head of the Bright Angel Trail, it needs a little help, and we need to do some serious restoration.
It's a serious restoration, I would imagine, involving stabilization, these sorts of things?
Yes, stabilization, painting, preserving the historic integrity of the house. The forces of nature that created Grand Canyon are pushing up against that house every single day, and we have extreme weather conditions and also visitor impact. So it's a critical need, but the house is okay. It's not a ruin.
Yeah.
We just want to keep it for another 109 years and beyond.
Do you have folks who are ready to do that kind of renovation? Because judging from the look of that particular shot that we saw, I don't know how anxious I want to be on that patio doing renovation work.
I'd say OSHA would have screamed if they would have seen how the Kolbs built the house.
Yes.
So yes, we do. We already have worked with the historic architect for the park, and we have contractors ready to go. We're hoping to start the first phase this fall. I will tell you, it is a little over $400,000 we're looking to raise. We already have 190, so we're well on our way, and we're hoping that the community of Arizona will help us finish that goal.
As far as fundraising efforts, where are you focused? What are you doing out there?
Well, we have a really great group of members that help us and donors, and part of the reason why I'm here today is to ask, a lot of people from the Phoenix area come to the Grand Canyon. We see them doing rim-to-rim hikes or just coming to bring their family, and so we're hoping that people will go online on our website and donate, call us, and tell us they want to get involved.
Sounds like American Express made a nice donation there.
American Express made a wonderful donation. Also, some individuals did too, so it shows that private-public partnership.
Tell us about the Grand Canyon Association. Who are you guys?
Who are we? Well, we started in 1932, and we are the nonprofit partner for Grand Canyon National Park. And we consist of members and donors, and what we do is support programs and projects for the park, such as scientific research, trail restoration, educational programs, and historic preservation, why I'm here tonight.
Have you seen those goals and that mission? Have they changed over the years? Because everything else seems to have changed. What about that?
Well, that's a good question. We originally started to help with publications. The park was creating all of this new research, and they needed to publish and tell the world about what they did. So that's where we started, and we operate park stores so that we actually have visitor centers with information that we sell, and the money goes back to the park. So we have evolved, but we are heavy into the fundraising for a lot of projects for the park, and Kolb Studio is one of them.
So if people want to get involved in the Kolb Studio or just the Grand Canyon Association in general, how do they get in touch with you?
The easiest way is go to grandcanyon.org, the easiest website that anybody can remember. grandcanyon.org, make a donation, call us. We'd love to hear from you, and we're just looking for more help.
Well, good luck with that effort, and boy, those photos were absolutely fascinating, and it sounds like it's kind of a neat thing. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for letting us be here.
You bet. Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists' Roundtable. Senator John McCain makes a stand against Stand Your Ground laws, and State Treasurer Doug Ducey forms an exploratory committee for the 2014 governor's race. That's Friday on the Journalists' Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
If you have comments about Arizona Horizon, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Your comments may be used on a future edition of Arizona Horizon. Thank you. Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.